Okay, we'll just get rolling. Health insurance. So United Health, their first initial rate quote was 23% overall. Obviously, that was something we rejected and said we needed to go ahead and work on. Currently, we're working on it. We have asked Blue Cross Blue Shield to give us a bid. I am confident that the absolute worst case scenario would be 7 or 8%. I hope it's less than that. But we won't know. That's an ongoing deal.
So we're not in a contract with United Health for 2 years?
No insurance company will give you more than a year at a time.
Okay.
Because they don't, because of the rates.
I guess that's what our thought was that part of having the lower percentage than Blue Cross last year was that we had kind of agreed to stick with them for 2 years.
What we did was, we told them we wanted a cap on what the most it could be this year. And frankly, what's hurt us and the trend that we've had for about 4 years, we've had some significant claims. We had significant claims this year. Now, what typically happens is I will argue with them about whether or not those are going to be ongoing. The challenge is, aren't the ones where the claims are going to stop. Either there's something that's a surgery that fixes whatever, or whatever the case, or the person's no longer with the district or something like that. All of those are things where I can try and argue and say that it's not representative of what it will continue to be. Unfortunately for us, for several years, we've had folks that have carried over into the next benefit year. What that does is the higher the claims, the more that they want to charge your rate. Blue Cross, the last couple of years, were not willing to hear any of that. And they had data from farther back, so they wanted to take that and say, well, I know you're saying that Liz isn't going to be on the plan anymore, but history tells us that it's going to be this much, which was their argument for the 42% or whatever it ended up being last year, not moving off of it. So with United Health, what we did was we were able to get a better rate with them, and we got a guarantee that it couldn't be more than 25%. Which was why when it came in at 23, I thought that just seems very convenient to be that close, right? Now, I will say, from their standpoint, they don't have the history going back farther. And we had some pretty significant claims this year. But they still don't have what they call mature data, because not everything has played out for an entire benefit year. And it won't, because September 1, then we have to do open enrollment in August. So, but we've been able to get it down into single digits. I think with the additional money that we're going to put in, I think that we are probably looking at, when you calculate that in, no one would see more than maybe a 5 or 6% raise. I'm hoping less than that. And part of it may be what we hear from Blue Cross. We didn't sign an agreement that had to be long-term with United Health because we wanted to be able to use the other one as leverage. And I would tell you, in the best possible world, we'd have United Health give us a great deal, and we'd move forward because then we can use Blue Cross. The downside to, let's say we switch back to Blue Cross, which is possible. The concern that I have is that Blue Cross may end up saying, okay, we'll give you a great deal this year, but are we going to have a huge rate hike the next year? Because they would have everything except for this year's data. So what we would argue with them would be, unless they give us some kind of a phenomenal thing, again, we would try to get a cap that can only go up so much. Obviously, it all boils down to claims. And frankly, the demographic group, this is not a big surprise, the demographic group with the highest number of claims is 55 to 64. It has the highest number of claims, it has the highest total dollar amount, and it has the highest prescription cost. So every category, that's the group that you know, it's part of aging. It just is what I'm in that group. So I get it. But the good news is that I think we will be no worse than 8%. And I think hopefully a little bit better than that.
Okay, that's good. Just add before we keep going.
Sure.
Are we recording or live streaming or?
We're recording.
Okay.
Jeff's the only one that we know that knows how to do the other.
Okay.
And he was not available today.
Okay. I was just asking.
Yep. You bet.
We had a different face behind the camera. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, Alex's last day is pretty close. Yeah. As we keep going, driver's ed tentative agreement with the sick leave buyback, tuition incentive, we agreed to track and look at that. Supplemental, same thing, agree to track and evaluate. Extra duty pay, same thing. Salary placement, no change with the current practice, and we certainly agree with you guys that for non-traditional teaching degrees, we want to make sure that we're competitive and we're fair, and I think that's something I can touch base on some of those with you and Barry. Recording leave. We had offered the proposal to changing it to a 0.25 and evaluated over the course of a year, and you guys were thinking about it.
That's kind of what we came to an agreement on. We would actually like to even put language within the contract, more like a sunset language that says we're going to do this for, the 24-25 school year, reevaluate it, and, for 25-26, we would either have to adopt it permanently or we would go back to the old way.
I think that's reasonable.
Okay. There's been some concerns that by making it a quarter of an hour or a quarter of a day, that I'm going to leave 15 minutes early to catch my kids, and that building administrators are going to become very big sticklers about that 15 minutes or that whatever. And that's not necessarily what we are talking about when it comes to that 25 minutes. Or 25. Quarter of a day. Okay.
So tentatively agree on that.
Correct.
Language in, and
Yes.
we'll do that.
Can I go back really quick? I'm sorry.
Sure.
Can I go back really quick to the supplemental pay? So after the last meeting, we had talked about the last meeting, the music instructor for the middle school, high school, and it was a music middle school supplemental we had talked about. After that, I had gotten contacted by Travis Brown, and he had mentioned to me that there was talk about a supplemental for the person at the high school who is in charge of dealing with all of the orders and everything for the concessions. And I guess I don't remember anybody reaching out to me, but we've had the remembrance conversation already about if it doesn't happen within a certain amount of time, then I will forget. I didn't know if you guys had heard any more about that, because according to the email that I got sent by him, they had reached out to central office about the number of hours and everything that she has been doing.
My suggestion would we do the same thing as we track it. Obviously, the person would be paid right now as a track that and see how many hours, I don't have any idea as far as time-wise. I couldn't even venture a guess. And as a result, I don't know that I could venture a guess on what would be a fair percent for you guys to come up with. Or for us.
Yeah, so for her going forward, or whoever is in, I don't know if it's the same person for this next year. For that person going forward, you want them to put in for extra duty pay?
If they're, I would think that they already are.
Okay,
But it would just be a matter of, it would just be a matter of tracking how many hours and having a calculation, because I don't even have a guess as what that time commitment is.
okay, and then what is she submitting? What's the hourly rate for, like, what does she submit for hours for that?
That wouldn't be an academic thing, so it'd be 1550.
Is the 1550? Okay. Okay. Well, honestly, that was one of our concerns, is we wouldn't know how many hours that was taking, and we didn't want to put her in a percentage
Right.
that
We
would
want
actually
to-
make
Might be
her
worse.
less.
You
Yeah.
guys And the board want to be fair on it. If it's a whole lot more hours than I can imagine, then, and we give it a 1.5%, that doesn't necessarily translate to fairness and equity. So if we track it this year, then we can take a look and see next year.
Okay, so just ask her to not only keep turning in the extra duty pay, but also just to keep a running list of the number of hours so it's easier to discuss next year.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
Parental leave, I think we've got tentative agreement there.
Yeah, and we have language for that. That's my note. Here's my file. Sure. Yes, please, because that kind of hurt. I don't know what I did.
Recovery from Italy.
I pulled a muscle like right in my back, so twisting, even sitting too long hurt. Okay, so the first thing, right off, we had a discussion just this morning, right before meeting, and while I had originally typed up certified employees, originally we had discussed at a previous meeting professional, and my brain just went to certified employees. We would actually like to change certified to professional. And then, for one big reason, not every person that we have under that contract, under our current contract, could technically be a certified teacher or a certified employee. As education changes, we're getting people who don't yet have their certification. And so making sure that we're inclusive with those people who don't yet have their certification by calling them professional employees, make sure that we cover all the bases on that one. Okay.
That looks reasonable.
All right. And then just for everyone at home, it says professional employees shall be granted 5 days of parental leave within 3 calendar months following the birth or adoption of their child or the placement of a foster child in their care. These days are non-cumulative and non-transferable. And then I made just a little mental note there that there is in our contract 17J that deals specifically with adoption, and that this would then cover adoption. And so we could delete 17J to keep the contract consistent. Okay.
That sounds good. Days on duty, length of duty day. I know that the suggestion, I think, was that we would see what we can do with that, rather than put something in the agreement at this point, evaluate whether or not we can take care of that administratively.
Well, currently on the calendar, it has that first day back in January as a in-service day and not,
And we're requesting a half a day workday.
yeah.
And in addition to the half day at the end of the semester.
The half day at the end of the semester is not a work day. It is a grade card day.
Okay. Well, let's come back to that. All right, and I know you and I are working on language. Obviously, we have a tentative agreement for $50 per month towards health insurance. Last offer from the district was step and column movement, $1,500 for column, for every column, or for $1,500 for column MA60 and $1,200 for all cells. And you guys were gonna think about that.
So we went through. Oh, you pulled up the calendar. Quick.
No, I can pull up whatever you need.
No, you're good. We went through and kind of looked at what districts, not only around us, but also in the league, a lot have not settled yet, but there are some, that have settled already. And so because we aren't completely sure on what's going on insurance, because, well, did you want to hand these out now? Or
Yeah,
did you want
we
to?
can.
Okay.
So we switched, you guys know, to the board made a decision 3 years ago, the UKC, to change to that league. So if you compare our salaries with our league, we are at the bottom. Now, academically and athletic-wise, our students are dominating in this league. I mean, they're doing great. But our salaries aren't we're not. We're at the bottom. And part of the reason, I followed the change into this league very closely because I had a big interest in it. They wanted us to go to this league because then we're competing against all 5A schools. So these are 5A schools that we're comparing our salaries to.
And we don't know quite, everybody's a little nervous with health insurance. We appreciate the district's offer of $50. We think that will be, it's a good working towards, taking up and using up some of that percentage increase that's going to happen. But even with that, households are still going to see more money for insurance coming out of their pocket. And so based on that right now, the team would like to stay firm at the $2,000.
Okay. So you don't have any kind of account?
That is our counter.
Well, I'll tell you what.
We're just not comfortable going lower with so many things unknown yet.
Okay. Well, insurance is something that we may not be able to have a whole lot of control, but I've told you the worst case would be 8%. I think the most that anybody would have to go up would probably be maybe $80.
But is that 8%?
Is that an average?
Is that-
or is that?
I mean,
Well, here's what I can tell you. I believe, I'm confident that no one would have more than probably a 6 or 7% increase.
so no one plan.
No, none of the steps is what we are working on right now.
Do you have an idea when that will be finalized or decided on?
Not really. It could be several weeks. Obviously, open enrollment's August, so we have to have something by then.
At $50, are there plans where people will come out ahead? Like if you're talking about the lowest plan, is that a possibility?
I think that there will be some that will, yes.
Okay.
84% of our folks have single plans. One of the proposals is to try and make certain that there is no addition there. Now, we can't do that for every one of those. If we did that, then people would actually end up being $50 better off. We don't, I don't have that just yet.
To Jill's point, about, base salaries and where we stack up, I pulled up the Conference Cup standings, where we were fortunate. You said dominated, I got nervous because I have to deal with DeSoto.
We win.
And I have nightmares. I have green nightmares. We're really good. But the lowest we placed in anything was 6th. In anything. A couple of 5th places. Everything else, we were in the upper half of everything in that conference, which is really impressive. And that includes non-athletic endeavors too.
Yeah.
Debate, forensics. Don't let me forget. Scholars Bowl. My God. I'm going to forget Scholars Bowl when my kid will be on the roster next year. So, really impressive. We'd like to be in that same level of competition with them. Compensation.
How much, I can't find it in my notes. How much did you say that increasing insurance, it's $240 to put $50 per month toward the insurance plan is about $240? Okay. Yeah, I just found it. Okay, well, I think both teams probably have a few things to talk about. If we want to caucus.
You want to go 5 minutes, 10 minutes?
10?
10, so 9:35, okay.
I shared with you, they were looking at the teacher salaries, and that's average total salaries, including fringe from 22, 23, 23, 24. Just as a comparison. After you guys talked, again, our last was obviously step and column, and the 1,500 for MA60 and 1,200 for cells. Any thoughts about a counteroffer from you guys?
We had a clarification question.
Sure.
So when you say 8%, is that 8% before the district subtracts out the amount that they pay, or is that 8% on what the
8%
staff is already paid?
8% before. That's why I think we could get down to, depending on which step it is, which plan. I think we'll end up with the $50. It'll be more like anywhere from 2 to 5 or 6%. Just depends.
I would say, because when we figured out the lowest, was it a
The
single?
lowest
Was that the
single,
single?
plan 4, lowest single,
Okay.
first single is 693.
Was an increase of, was 693?
Was what it is right now before the district pays in.
We should have taken a picture of that on the board.
I erased it,
Oh, okay, never mind.
but I have it for you.
Did you say it was 690?
It's 693 and some change, yes. I like it still.
I got my little
Yeah.
calculator. So that's an increase of $55.44-ish on the lowest single. So those people who are on that one would see an increase of, $5.50
A month.
a month for their insurance.
697.
But that,
But that's our lowest premium plan. The rest of them, as you guys know, are a lot higher than that. The next one is 814. So 8% of that, you're talking a lot more than $5 increase. And so on.
and we looked at, where's my sheet? We looked at the sheet that we were given the first day we met, and looked at the increases versus the expenditures. And so taking into account those expenditures that the district had put down on those, because we understand those are fixed costs and we have to account for those, that's understandable. We were told that the overall increase, subtract minus expenditures, was about 1.8 million. Is that still where we're at?
Right off the top of my head, that sounds, whatever that number was, wouldn't have changed
Okay.
significantly.
So, figuring up with the 2,000, based on the numbers that you had given us, we added the 500 per cell that you said was 162.5 plus the 1,500 per cell, which was 487.5, for a total of 650,000. We kept insurance at the 50 at 240. We added the MA 60 column, which was 73,500. And then we added the step and lateral, which was 200,893, for a grand total of 1,164,393, which is 640,000 less than the 1.8 million.
Okay.
Now, I guess I know that part of our goal is to make sure that classified staff, like, we agree classified staff needs to be paid more. That is not a disagreement on anybody's mind. But we didn't know, 640,000 is still a very large chunk of change.
Just a second here.
And if I missed something in my addition, please let me know. Like, if I missed putting something in the equation.
$1,200 to sell with the 1,500, everything else we talked about. This is how it breaks down.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so when you gave us in the minutes on May 29th, and you said that it was for $1,500 to sell, it was $487.50. Does that include your FICA costs?
No. It doesn't include anything other than salary. It's just dollars.
Health insurance. What's our what's the FICA? I mean, I know what FICA is, but if we were to want to figure out what FICA would be on the increase,
Is usually what you have.
8%, thank you. Okay, did you guys get a chance to talk about the workday, work time?
No. We figured we need to figure out the money. So you guys stay at 2,000?
But this is helpful.
And I would tell you, make sure I have the copies here. We would be willing to make sure I got enough for you guys. To do 1,300 per se. Obviously, still the 1,500. I figure we can probably just dispense with me repeating that another time.
Yeah.
Just figure something out. And the 1,500 for MA 60.
Okay,
Do you guys want
since
to?
we have more things to think about and you guys have done all this work while we were meeting, can we talk about these and you guys talk about the workday?
Yeah.
Excellent.
How long do you want?
10?
Sure.
10 minutes or 10 o'clock?
10 minutes. It's gonna take me that long just to.
Exactly.
Okay, any counter on money?
I have a question.
Sure.
So, you gave us two sheets. One was a $1,200 increase, and one was a $1,300 increase. But we noticed that the classified staff plus contracted non-teaching went up between the two. And we didn't know if that was on purpose or if that was an accident.
It would go up because the overall percentage goes up.
So you're basing the classified staff raise
Overall,
as a percent of what?
Correct.
Okay,
on those two.
okay. That's fine. We were just double checking on why they were different.
Yep.
Okay. Did you guys have a chance to talk about that half hour or that half day? Can't talk today,
We're
it's
still
fine.
thinking about it. We wanted to see if we could make any headway on salary.
Unfortunately, today we are not going to make any headway on salary. We've got the budget meeting coming up, the KSDE budget meeting coming up, where we can listen to some more information. We just want to make sure with the laws changing, that we have all our ducks in a row, that we know exactly what's going on. And I mean, we're just seeing this right now. We haven't had a chance to kind of plug in numbers and see where that goes. That 8% on FICA is helpful so that we can get it. But we just don't feel comfortable proposing a new number without making sure that we are doing our due diligence for the staff. I know we have a meeting scheduled for the 2nd.
Yep. 4:30?
Yes.
All right, I guess that means we're done for today then.
Okay.
We plan July 2nd, 4:30, you were right here.
Yes. Sounds good.